Okie dokie. Well, hello, and welcome to another video. I'm filming on my new camera again. This is my second time making a YouTube video. I tried to adjust the sound to make it a little bit lower so it doesn't peak as much, but someone commented and said that the sound didn't bother them that much last time, so hopefully all is well. And I have my hammock in the background, so very nice. Finally, after 3 years of having a hammock, set it up in my backyard. And I'm wearing my new jean jacket because I've worn this tank top before in a video, so gotta spruce it up with my new white denim jacket. Yeah, I'm wearing white after Labor Day, so all the fashion police can come after me if they want to, but your girl's on the run because she doesn't listen to no one. I don't know why I'm being weird. So let's just get into the video. I'm going to be talking about boundaries, and then I might sprinkle in a little bit of current event news, which I normally never talk about, so that should be fun if I end up doing that. But I just bought the book on boundaries. I haven't started reading it yet, so maybe I'll make another video in the future with more knowledge on the subject of boundaries. But I wanted to talk today about just kind of an overview of what I've been learning the past couple of years, honestly, that the word boundaries was introduced to my vocabulary, and I've been trying to implement it. So, first off, you have to practice on safe people. So whoever you think is safe, whether that's a family member or a friend or someone else, find someone that you think will respect you, because the biggest thing about boundaries is first you have to stick to them and uphold them yourself, and then when you find out if people are worth investing your time in, if they're going to uphold your boundaries, you will voice it, and then if they reciprocate it. So it's kind of like a two-way street. With your boundaries, it's 50% on you and 50% on them. If you voice your boundaries to someone and they just kind of bypass it, blow past it, and try to negotiate your way around, or their way around your boundary, that is a huge red flag. And red flag is overused nowadays. When I say red flag, I mean kind of like, let's take a pause and reassess and address this thing, because if we don't, then it could get really bad. Also, my neighbor's AC or whatever just went on, so super fun sound quality there. But that's really important. So you have to first respect your boundaries. You have to respect your time and your worth and your value. You have to see it as something worth protecting, something that is valuable to you. So whether that is, I'm only going to hang out with a friend for 2 hours, or I need to be in bed at this time, or I don't talk about these subjects, or I don't go to these activities, whatever it may be, you have to first respect yourself and view yourself as valuable. So that's something that I have struggled with, especially when it just plans with me, and that's the thing that I have to learn. Even if I just plan on going home and sitting on the couch and watching TV, that is a plan that I had and made for myself, and so I should respect my plans. Now, obviously, you need to allow time for the Holy Spirit to work. If you really wanted to leave at 5, but you're in a really deep conversation where God is moving and you guys are just like encouraging each other and things are happening, then maybe you do need to blow past it and stay. But I think the biggest thing that I would like to acknowledge here is acknowledge the boundary that you are breaking, and make note of it and speak it out loud. Be like, hey, I normally would be leaving right now at 5 p.m., but because we're having a Holy Spirit-led conversation, I want to, this one time, blow past this boundary because I think this is worth it. So then you're allowing the person to be like, oh, you're right, I didn't realize you had a boundary, or you're right, you did have this boundary. I do love our conversation, but we probably should go. Or be like, wow, thank you so much for recognizing that this is a moment that needs to be shared between us. And so for this one time, we will make this holy exception. And I think that's just really good communication. And I say this and I do not practice it, my friends. So this is advice that I will go back to and listen to for pep talk for myself. But I think that's wise and important. And then another thing is, if you have a time boundary, speak it out loud to them. Don't just have it in your head, because again, you're not allowing them to also hold you accountable to your boundaries, especially if you're like me and you're really bad at upholding them. So what I would do is text the person and be like, hey, I'm so excited to hang out between 7 and 9 p.m. tonight. I'd really like to get home by 9:30 and be in bed by 10. So I appreciate you, you know, you don't have to go into a huge long detail. I did this one time because I was like, I suck at boundaries. I need to speak it out loud. But you don't have to go into all that details. But I would explain, I would be like, hey, like, because I want to hold myself accountable and have these time boundaries and I need help. So this is why I'm letting you know ahead of time. And then it allows them to know, hey, we're going to leave around 9. It's in their head. So they're probably also checking their time and they're also aware of it. And it just shows whether they can be a good friend or not and hold you to the stuff that you say that you want them to hold you to. Are they going to hold you accountable? And I think it's something that I've realized myself as a friend as well. It's like, hey, if my friend tells me that she needs to leave around 2:30 and I do see the clock and I see that it's almost like 2:15 or whatever, I should probably be like, hey, don't you have to go soon? And maybe I don't want to say that because I'm having a really great time and I would rather us not go soon, but I would also rather not have my friend miss her appointment. So just things like that is making me a better friend, being more considerate of others and myself, just, you know, keeping it 100 honest. I'm not always the best at upholding other people's boundaries with that. So something that I'm trying to hold myself accountable to and others as well. It's just a nice thing of respect. If someone tells you no, respect it. And I, especially with my parents and my dad, when I was in Maine, I didn't always respect his no. When I wanted to go swimming, I wanted him to go swimming with me. And if he said no, I would try to convince him otherwise. And that's just not really fair. And I've had people do that to me as well. Like, I wanted to go to the movies when I remember this moment specifically in Ireland. I didn't want to go to the movies. Let me clarify. My friends wanted to go to the movies and I wanted to go home and just kind of do some homework or relax or whatever. But they kept being like, no, come on. And then they kept pushing and pushing. And then finally I was like, okay, fine, whatever, I'll go. And it ended up being a really fun time, but I was also out, I think, until 1 a.m. So didn't go to bed early that night. So that's a time that stuck out to me of someone knowing that I would have a lot of fun and trying to convince me that I would have fun. And it obviously worked and I said yes, but it doesn't always work for other people and it can be annoying, as it was annoying to me at the time as well. And so I think there's always that balance. It's like you want to let the person know, hey, you're going to be missed. We would really love you there. Like, please come. But after I think maybe the second no, you should probably just call it quits. Definitely don't get past 3 no's. If someone gives you 3 no's, definitely call it quits at that point. But yeah, so it's just all about balance and knowing the other person and knowing yourself and just, I think, ultimately having respect for people. And yeah, so that's the whole thing with boundaries and mostly time, I guess you could say. I'm at 8 minutes already. Wow. That is very long. Don't want to go on for too much longer, maybe 4 to 6 more minutes. But another thing I will say about boundaries, I know a lot of people want me to talk about relationship boundaries, but I honestly think this should be practiced outside of relationships. And if you learn these things outside of relationships, when you're in a relationship, it will be a lot better. So let's think of what else. Yeah, I think ultimately just realizing that not everyone has access to you. You don't have to share certain things with people. And maybe it's also context. Maybe you don't want to talk about your breakup while you're shopping in TJ Maxx. Maybe that's just something you don't feel comfortable doing. But if you're like me and you just, just blow by all of your personal values and boundaries, then you will do that. So that's something. And I think you need to sit down and take a moment to just reflect. And it doesn't have to be all at once. It could be a week or a month or multiple years. And just be like, hey, what am I okay with and what am I not okay with? And it could be a scale. It could be like, this is a hard no for me all the time. Always going to be a no. And then sometimes it could be flexible. Like maybe every once in a while I will talk about my breakup in a TJ Maxx if I feel like I need to. Or maybe I will go past 9 p.m. because we're having a really spirit-led conversation and someone's receiving healing and encouragement. But you need to have that flexibility, and you need to check in with yourself. That's why I said take a moment of pause, speak it out loud, and acknowledge it and hold weight to it. Don't just be like, oh, LOL, it's so late, or wow, I can't believe it's already 10. I feel like that's being very passive and very wishy-washy, kind of bouncing, what is that thing, like bouncing around the fence? I don't know what it's called. I'll probably think of it once I post the video, but yeah, so that's not good. And I think another thing I'll say with boundaries is if you don't respect them and you don't uphold them, then other people won't, like I said before. And if you really want to get around your boundaries, you will. I'm alluding more to dating in that regard with physical boundaries, but that could go for any boundaries. And I think just realizing how versatile this topic and subject could be is really important. I think also just, again, knowing what you're okay with and not okay with, like people canceling on you, how okay or not okay with you on that. I think I can be too flexible to a fault, where if someone forgets or they cancel or something comes up or they have to remove it, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And sometimes that's okay, but sometimes it's really annoying. And so I think holding people accountable to being like, hey, you know, I thought we had plans from this time to this time. I'm actually not available in the afternoon. I'm sorry, we're going to have to reschedule for a different day. Or we had plans for this day. It was my time available, so maybe we'll reevaluate and reassess in the future. I don't know. I'm still learning. You don't want to be a hard no all the time, but you also don't want to be a too flexible yes, like me. So I think that's all I'm going to talk about with boundaries. We'll get a little spicy and I'll talk about the current event this one time, okay? This one time, just for you. I'm channeling my inner Incredibles. Gosh, I forgot her name, but you know who I'm talking about. So, Gabby and Brian, I have not been following this story from the beginning. Apparently, it's been going on for a while. So, she went missing, and then he came home. Well, he came home, and then she went missing, and then now he's missing, and her body was found, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. It's a good crime drama right there. It's a thriller. It reminds me of Gone Girl, to be honest. If you've never seen Gone Girl, go sit yourself down and watch you some Gone Girl, because wow, it's so similar, but not really, because the ending is so different. Or is it? No, I'm just kidding. It's really different. So, oh man, what I'm gonna say on this, with someone who doesn't know all the ins, outs, and details, I literally just heard about it a few hours ago. What I will say is, number one, I think they both played their part. What I mean is that they were both getting physical, both having altercations, both very emotional, both very hysterical, all the things. So I think they both played their part. I think what's sad and tragic is that when a girl tries to get physical, the guy is obviously a lot stronger. So just, I know this is like not what everyone wants to hear, but it's just like the sad reality of life, is that I think they both had issues. They both played their part, whether it was an accident or premeditative or whatnot, we don't know. Assuming it's an accident, I really think that she probably got physical, he got physical, and then the physicality led to her death, because if he pushed her and she hit her head, then obviously she's gonna die. So, what's shady though is that if it was an accident, own up to it. Like, say it was an accident and don't drive home without her, and then have everything proceed afterwards. But I just hate how everyone is out for his blood. And I know this sounds so like counterintuitive because I'm a female and everyone just assumes like take her side. What, like, obviously if she's dead, if that's her body, if it was found, then like she's dead. She's the victim. She's dead. But what I want to say is that as a Christian, I think that obviously I know everyone commenting is not a believer, but Christian perspective, I would hope that he didn't kill himself and that him being missing isn't a result of him committing suicide, because my goal is for everyone to find Jesus, even the people in jail who have murdered people. I want people to get saved, genuinely have a heart transformation, and be winning souls for Christ. kind of like Paul. Everyone likes to reference Paul, but it's like, but if there was a Paul in modern day time, would you be rooting for him before his redemption? Because I think that's what we have to think. We have to look at people and think they can be redeemed by Christ. So we want to pray and root for them and hope and, that they get saved, that their hearts get transformed, and that they experience the grace, healing, forgiveness, and hope that Jesus brings to them. So that's ultimately my prayer. She's dead now. Unfortunately, if she didn't believe in Jesus, she's in hell. Like, she's a victim, but let's not separate the two of, like, think that she's just automatically in heaven because she was murdered. You know what I mean? I don't know if she was a believer or not, but if she wasn't, then that's her fate. If she was a believer, then she's in heaven. Now, if he's still alive, his soul can still be redeemed. He still has a chance. And so that's what I'm hoping and praying for. I know it's a weird one, but it's the one I would hope my family hopes and prays for if I was in that situation. Now, I know if you're not a Christian, that's going to sound super weird, but yeah, I just don't think that, like, one person's mistake should, like, make them hated for all eternity. Like, whether he premeditatively killed her or it was an accident, I think it's more believable that it would be an accident. Just seeing their unstable character, don't feel like he would premeditate it, but who knows. I think that he can be redeemed if he's still alive. So that's what I hope and pray for. Now, to tie this into boundaries, because I'm going long now, going longer than I wanted to. You need to have boundaries. Clearly, they had a lot of issues. Mental health aside, they were very just not in a great, healthy situation. So how does boundaries play into this? Well, I think they had no boundaries. I think that is one of the biggest problems. She probably was too lenient and just flexible and yes, and he probably might have had the same issues. If they're stuck in a van together and they called off their engagement and they were clearly not in this, like, perfect loving relationship, they don't have boundaries. They don't have self-respect, and they don't know their worth. And they probably were with each other, and they each probably didn't respect their boundaries because they got on each other's nerves a lot. And obviously were pulled over by the police before she even went missing. So that's just the ultimate, I think, moral of just the whole video is boundaries are important. They protect you and they protect others. It's mutual respect, and don't look at it as something so restrictive, because boundaries don't have to be there forever. You can remove the boundaries. It is something that contains and holds something that is of value. For example, you have physical boundaries with someone before you get married, and then once you're married, those physical boundaries go away. But it doesn't mean you still shouldn't have boundaries with your spouse. Or if you have boundaries with a friend because they exhibit negative behavior in X, Y, or Z, then that boundary doesn't have to be there forever. Like, maybe they are talking about subjects that you don't want talked about. It's just too much. They just push your buttons and they just bypass all of your warning signals. Well, maybe if you establish the boundary and things get healthier, then you can start to reintroduce other topics. So I think that is just a good way to end. Boundaries don't have to be forever. They're just a nice guardrail for the time being to help people work on their relationships and their interactions with others. So I hope you have a great day, and I will see you guys next Monday for another video. Hopefully it won't be so late this time, because I probably won't post it until I get home from my photo shoot. Update coming soon. That will be in the next video.